Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the January 25th regular monthly meeting of the Portsmouth City School Board. Ask you please stand now for a brief moment of silence. You may be seated. Tonight we have some very special guests with us. I'm going to ask Dr. Bracy to come up now and introduce them.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. I think that's the best I'm going to get. Huh? I want to welcome everyone, particularly Brighton Elementary School. I walked in here and I saw this green and gold, all the green and gold. It sort of rhymes with behold. I know we got a lot of NSU people out there.
The green and gold.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I've had my fill with that, Miss Atkinson, you and I today. But I want to recognize we have a couple of students that are here today that's going to give us the Pledge of Allegiance as well as the school statement. But first of all, let's give Brighton Elementary School, because I see a lot of people back there looking sharp. Let's give them a round of applause. So, Dr. Neal, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask, as I call the students' names, they can come forward. So, the Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Xavion Love, and our school statement will be given by Gabby Smith. So. So, before they get started, let me read some information so everyone will know who they are, and I can tell you some of the things that they like to do. So, Xavion is a kindergarten student, and he's in Miss Celestine's class. He's on the honor roll. He enjoys playing basketball and attends Third Baptist Church in Portsmouth. He resides with his grandmother, Ms. Love, who is a special education instructional assistant at Brighton. Xavion would like to be a police officer in the future. Let's give him a round of applause. Gabby is a fourth grade student in Miss Brooks' class. She's on the honor roll, enjoys crocheting, and just signed up for the Brighton Piano Club.
Yes.
She attends the YMCA in the afternoon, where she loves to help younger children. Gabby resides with her grandmother, Linda Harris. Gabby would like to attend college in the future and become a marine biologist. Nice. So before we get started, are the Xavion's parents or you all here? Okay, please stand and be recognized. And Gabby's parents, are Gabby's parents present as well? Yeah. Now, parents, this is a special moment, so feel free to come up front here and take all the videos and pictures that you want. You can get center stage. You don't have to stand on the side. Yeah. 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 Slide on over. All right, so at this time, yeah. So at this time, I will turn it over to you, Dr. Neal, and we can let Xavion get us started with the pledge.
First of all, thank you so much for having us tonight. We are delighted to be with you. Aren't we, bumblebees? Yeah. We're excited to be here. So
Hit the microphone.
Xavion, you ready?
Don't cry.
Just say please stay open.
Y'all ready? Y'all
We're gonna say it together, okay? Okay, there we go.
Come on.
Please stand for
There we go.
please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Say aye.
So now we're gonna say, I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Hey, can we give it up for Xavier one more time?
Let's hop down. Let's hop down.
Do I move this?
Dr. Bracy, Chairman Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, esteemed members of the board, my name is Gabrielle Smith. I want to tell you about Brighton. The zero bullying policy at Brighton makes a great school to learn. Brighton has a number of fun after-school activities for students, including basketball, piano, chorus, and cheering. In the classroom, I like how teachers help me to understand the material, and every teacher adds activities that makes our learning experience fun. For me, one of them is STEM activities. The experiments are exciting and hands-on in science. For technology, Miss Hillian has the most, by far, best games, coding, and other activities to show what we have learned. I created my book, all about the planets, in Book Creator. I researched information about each planet and added videos and images to help others learn interesting facts about the planets. We can make the most cool things for engineering based on what we are learning. I have built a truck and used straws to make 3D shapes. Lastly, mathematics is exciting for me because I use my problem-solving skills and apply what I already know and strategies to find a solution. Thank you.
What you looking at?
We shared Gabby's book so you guys could see it. She created it in Book Creator, but we downloaded it in PDF so that you guys would be able to see it.
Okay. They broke the mic last night at City Council. The mic is tired from last night.
I sent it to Dr. Nolasco this morning. So Gabby, you want to come talk a little bit more about your book? Yeah. Tell me what your book was about, your planets. Tell me about your planets.
And planets. For my book, I decided that creating this for my free choice on my paper would be a great idea, and I was thinking about it for a while. And what really established the plan was searching up about each planet for my pages and having everything down pack on a Google brainstorming page. I decided to make it, and when I did, the last thing I knew was the book was finished. I added videos, what we were going to be taught, and what I was going to put in it. For that reason, I decided that this would be a great book for me to make and for me to have here.
Thank you. Well done. So as a treat, because we wanted to give you guys something extra sweet, because we are the Honey Hive, the Beehive, we brought our chorus with us, and they just want to do just a little bit of a song for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Sing Hosanna, come sing with joy. Sing Hosanna in the highest. Sing Hosanna.
Dr. Bracey, Chairman Patilla, Vice Chair Atkinson, thank you guys, esteemed board. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We were looking forward to this since we found out in the fall. So as a token of our love and appreciation for all that you do, we just brought you a little something to let you know how much you're loved at the Hive. Thank you again.
Dr. Neal, Dr. Neal.
And some of the gifts were black and gold on purpose.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that.
I just want to give, I just want to give the board members a chance to respond as well. But I just want to say, Dr. Neal, this is, I believe, it's you and Mr. Allen's first time since becoming an AP and principal at the School of Green. You did a great job. You did a great job. And I also want to ask Gabby, has her book been printed as of yet? So what I want to do is, I'm willing to go ahead and contribute money to get it printed if she wants to get it printed. So I would love to see that. You are a brilliant young lady, and your gifts should never be hidden. So when you do great things, make sure the world sees it, okay? So I'm willing to put money behind it to print it. All right? Okay.
And thank you again. So can we get Xavier and Gabby to come back? We have a gift for them. Okay.
And Dr. Neal, make sure you let me know a good day to have a pizza party for this chorus, okay? Because they all did a great job.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Ms. Hines.
Thank you. I know you're talking about getting a book published by our wonderful young author here. I would also like to know if there's any money within our library services to purchase a copy for each of our elementary schools so that our published author can be across the city and inspire other young authors to do the same thing. I would like to see if we can make that happen as well. So while she gets published #1, I think we get published #2 through whatever to go into our schools, especially our elementary schools, to inspire and to have that in our buildings for perpetuity. Thank you.
Well done. Ms. Thomas and then Ms. Futrell.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to give another round of applause to Brighton Elementary, the chorus, Xavier, our author with the book. Sorry, I'm just overwhelmed. You all sounded amazing. You all look amazing. For you to even speak so freely, given technical difficulties, for you to speak exactly about your creative process, amazing, so brave. And then I got to give kudos to Dr. Neal and Mr. Allen. I'm about to call you first name. But you, like the chair mentioned, for you to both be at your first school as principal and you've been the AP before, but still at Brighton, you've done a great job. I follow your social media activities on Twitter. I see you just did the Make It Snow event. So you did the popsicle event at the beginning of the school. You all are always coming up with creative ways to keep the community engaged, the parents engaged, and the students engaged. So just want to say well done, and thank you for all the dedication and hard work that you put in, including your staff, the chorus teacher, and everyone. So thank you so much.
Wow, 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 wow. What else can be said? You guys came through here and really showed us what the fight of the bumblebee looks like. So we thank you guys so much and appreciate you. And admin team, please reach out. Having experience with publishing, I would love to help in any way that I can.
I just want to say, Dr. Neal, Mr. Allen, y'all are the dopest team. Great job. I love y'all. And know what? Forget a Stanley Cup. I got a Hive Cup right here.
And I just want to add, the chorus had to sound amazing because I have a former teacher of the year, Ms. Hunt. And Dr. Neal, could we have all of your staff stand who's here with you on this evening? Thank you all so much. You all have made this meeting easy now. Meeting adjourned. We're now going to move to agenda item 3.5, which is our school board mission statement. Dr. Cotton.
The mission of the Portsmouth Public School Division is to engage all students in learning that will foster academic excellence and responsible citizenship.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item 3.6, attendance. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson? Here. Mrs. Boone?
Here.
Dr. Cotton?
Present.
Mrs. Futrell?
Here.
Mrs. Hines?
Present.
Mrs. Schumate? Here. Mrs. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Whitaker? Reverend, Dr. Patillo?
Present.
All members are present.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 3.7 is approval of the agenda for January 25th, 2024. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Dr. Cotton, second by Ms. Boone. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson? Yes. Mrs. Boone?
Yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell? Yes. Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumate?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. One of my favorite portions of the meeting, agenda item 4.1, is our student representative report. Ms. Drummond.
Hi. Good evening, Chairman Patillo, Vice Chairman Atkinson, Superintendent Dr. Bracey, and other esteemed board members. First of all, I want to say a little sorry for the informal address. I've been running around all day. But firstly, I would like to say that the students at TCC are doing well. Being over there, I see that everyone is having a wonderful time with their newfound freedoms, planning their own schedules. Today, we got to watch a basketball tournament where they were playing against 25-year-olds. We won. Let me just say that. Woo! So I want to say they're doing amazing over there. And then talking about our January grads. So a lot of the high schools are in the middle of doing their finals. Today was the first day, and tomorrow's the second day finishing it up. So I want to say shout out to all of the seniors who are still in the high school taking that, and shout out to the January grads who are about to leave us for a little bit. Hopefully they come back and visit for our senior events. We're so proud of everyone. Secondly, sports-wise, of course, our athletes are doing an amazing job. Track, basketball, swimming, wrestling, etc., on both the middle school and high school levels. So just keep it up to them. Another thing is, for me, I did once say that my platform was digital footprinting, and we're finally moving a little bit forward with that since I'm a little less busy. And at the moment, I'm getting a committee together so that we can work on magazines. Aaliyah had came in at one point when I wasn't able to be here, sadly, and she had talked about in this issue as a thing that we were getting together, and it was going to be a magazine sort of informational pamphlet for both students and staff in PPS. So excited to keep moving forward with that one. And last but not least, a big congratulations and a good luck to all students who are on their way to those academic competitions that happen around this time. You have forensics, DECA, FBLA, FCCLA, so many more. So shout out to them for making it to the next level, and I wish them a safe journey, safe travel. And I know it's the last but not least, but I also want to say, even though they're gone, I was so proud to see the kids come in and have their concert. They remind me of a younger me. So I want to say I love seeing how PPS is still cultivating young minds and creating just a great space, especially the young girl who had the book. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read it. So that's kind of it for tonight from me. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Amazing as always. All right. We'll move on to agenda item 5.1, And 5.2, we have 2 resolutions to consider. Dr. White.
Whereas advocates for children, we work to provide appropriate opportunities for them to acquire the tools, skills, and knowledge necessary for their success and future well-being. And whereas education is an integral part of instilling an appreciation for America's defining values, freedom, equality, and respect for one another. And whereas the Portsmouth City School Board is proud to support America's role as the leader of discovery and innovation, and is deeply committed to ensuring that all our graduates possess marketable skills. And whereas professional staff has a duty to provide a comprehensive and competitive education for all students, whereas February is traditionally designated to recognize the achievements and contributions of African Americans to the development and sustaining of our democracy. This year's theme, African Americans and the Arts. Now therefore be it resolved that the Portsmouth Public Schools recognizes February as Black History Month, celebrating all the important roles of African Americans and the evolution of our city, Commonwealth, and nation. And further be it resolved that this resolution be archived as part of the Portsmouth City School Board's official records.
I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Atkinson, second by Ms. Futrell. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Hines, Ms. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Boone,
Yes.
Dr. Cotton,
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell.
Yes.
Mrs. Hines.
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemate.
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 5.2 is consideration of a resolution recognizing Career and Technical Education Month. Dr. White.
Whereas February 1 through 29, 2024 has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education, and whereas Career and Technical Education offers students the opportunity to gain academic, technical, and employability skills for true career readiness. Whereas students in career and technical education programs participate in authentic, meaningful experiences that improve the quality of education and increase their engagement and achievement. And whereas career and technical education provides students with the career exploration opportunities earlier in their career experiences, which enable them to make informed, beneficial decisions about their academic coursework and pursue established programs of study and career pathways. And whereas leaders from businesses and industry nationwide reporting increasing challenges relating to addressing the skill gaps and connecting qualified professionals with available careers in critical and growing CET-related fields, including healthcare, advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, and information technology. Whereas career and technical education prepares students for those and others fulfilling careers by offering integrated programs of study that link secondary and post-secondary education and lead to the attainment of industry-recognized credentials. And whereas career and technical education programs ensure that employers have access to qualified and thriving workforce, ensuring America is a strong and competitive economy. Resolve that Portsmouth City School Board recognize February 1 through 29, 2024 as Career and Technical Education Month, and be it further resolved that this resolution be archived as part of Portsmouth City School Board's official records.
Move
Thank
for
you, sir.
approval.
Motion made by, I believe that was Ms. Shoemate, and second by Ms. Boone. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson. Yes. Mrs. Boone. Dr. Cotton.
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell. Mrs. Hines.
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemate.
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Before we move to public comment, I would like to recognize, we do have Councilman Mark Hugel here with us tonight. If you recognize him. And we do have Dr. Majette, the Superintendent of Brunswick County and also President of the Virginia Association of School Superintendents here with us. Thank you for coming. We now move to agenda items 6.1 and 6.2, public comment for non-agenda and board agenda items. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We have one speaker for non-agenda item.
Thank you.
As part of the school division's dedication to full transparency and collaboration in decision-making, the school board of the city of Portsmouth allocates time for public comment at every regular meeting of the month to hear directly from citizens on matters of public concern regarding Portsmouth Public Schools. If you wish to address the school board, you must register with the clerk of the board ahead of the scheduled meeting start time. During public comment, each speaker will have 5 minutes to share their comments with board members. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time to another speaker, and they are not to make any formal resolutions, declarations, or proclamations as part of their comments. Speakers are reminded to maintain decorum and respect while addressing the board. Specifically, no individual personnel, student, or family member should be named in comments, as speakers are at their own risk of violating confidentiality laws and are defaming the subjects of their comments. Neither the school board, the superintendent, nor school administration will respond publicly to any comments by speakers. A written copy of speakers' comments can be left with the clerk of the board, and any other matter requiring a response will be directed to the superintendent and school administration to address as needed. As the board opens to public comment, the audience is asked to be respectful of all speakers. And our speaker is Mr. Sergio Neal.
Good evening, Chair,
Good evening.
Vice Chair, members of the school board. I'm Sergio Neal, of course. First of all, I would like to make a disclaimer. I'm not related to Dr. Neal. However, having a Neal running Brighton Elementary makes it feel even better. So, I've talked with Dr. Neal on a couple of occasions. I think she's the right person to having that leadership along with Mr. Allen. They really have honed in on what the needs of those students are at that school, and I really see Brighton taking off for an even brighter future than what they already have. I just wanted to come before you all tonight to make a couple of comments regarding some issues that were brought to me by the students there. As you all know, I have a younger son now, that's 2, and two of his siblings actually attend Brighton Elementary. And when they come home and they talk to us and they say, what's going on around, and they want to, not feel, like discouraged to speak out, and I always try to encourage them to do so. One of the things that I brought to the attention was, unfortunately, we have some gang activity that has been taking place. It's no secret. A lot of those kids that attend Brighton come from Brighton Prentice Park, and they have been exposed to some gang activity, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it has transpired in our school space. And I want to make you all aware of that, publicly, so, we can definitely hone in. And it's good that Councilman Hugel is here as well, because it's a public safety issue as well. It disrupts the learning environment, and it disrupts the thought process of our students, and it disrupts the time and attention of our teachers and staff in our schools. So that's just something to be aware of. Another issue that was brought up was bullying. And I'm glad that Brighton has a strong view against bullying. I just want to make sure that our school code of conduct reflects the same as we go on into future school years, that we are honing in on the bullying and making sure that our students feel protected. And because unfortunately, I don't know if you all are aware, we had a 14-year-old that may or may not have been a student of Portsmouth Public Schools that committed suicide recently here in this city. So we definitely want to make sure that we maintain a very keen eye on what's happening, make sure our students feel protected as much as we possibly can. Whatever we can do, and it was going to take a collaborative effort between the school board and the city council to make sure that is maintained. I would like to say on a positive note that, me being, community advocate for education, I've seen a lot of the growth that this school system has. I can say your communications director, is amazing. She definitely, I asked the question, and her response to that question was right where it needed to be. There was an issue, of course, power went out at Manor High School. You know, a lot of people were talking, and I wanted some clarity as to what happened with the communication. But I think her response broke it down, and that's what we need more of, you know, at the community level, to make sure that people are aware that, you know, what happens in process, why things go the way they go. And I think the way she delivered it was of the utmost, because it helps us, you know, as community members, understand the thought process behind the school and the what and the why and the how things take place. So I would encourage you all to, you know, to keep the good communication rolling. Dr. Bracy, you know, I always point you out, man. Shout out. Kudos to you, man. I like that bag that you had on earlier, so probably need to get with you later. But kudos to you and the admin staff for what they always do. But I just wanted to make sure that, you know, there we also too have a candidate for council that's here, Mr. Dodson. Dr. Dodson is here in this audience as well. He was. Yeah, he's still back there, and I'm glad that he came out, because if he's elected, he can see he's one of the people that, you know, need to bond that relationship. So, you know, I hold them accountable. I always hold council accountable, you know, hold their feet to the fire, because when they come talking about they are committed to public education, I just want to see how far that goes. So I'm glad we have two, but we have more. But anyway, thank you for all that you all do as a board, you know, and I do have one more question or a statement to make. I would humbly ask you all to remove the stipulation that the board cannot respond publicly to comment. And I get some reason why, but however, I feel like if a board member wants to respond publicly to comment, or a school staff member needs to respond publicly to a comment made, it should be allowed to be done so, because it is what it is. I mean, we want to see the reality of the situation, and sometimes it can't be said in an email. It needs to be said out loud for everybody to understand that. So, because I don't want people to manipulate the thought process about, well, why they didn't say anything, whatever the case might be, they must not care. So if you all have something to publicly say, I think it should be allowed. That should be removed from you all's speaker criteria. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Agenda item 7.1 is election of a delegate and alternate for the annual convention. We do have a nomination of Ms. Irene Boone as a delegate and Ms. Sarah Duncan Hines as the alternate. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Cotton, second by Ms. Boone? Or Ms. Futrell? Ms. Futrell. Oh. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Boone?
Yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell? Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 7.2 is election of a director and an alternate for the governor's school. We do have the nominations of Dr. Patillo and Ms. Futrell as the alternate. I entertain a motion at this time. A motion made by Vice Chair Atkinson and second by Ms. Boone. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson? Yes. Mrs. Boone?
Yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell? Yes. Mrs. Hines? Yes. Mrs. Shoemake?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 7.3 is election of a representative and an alternate for the WHRO Governing Board of Directors. I do have nominations for Dr. Cotton as the representative and Vice Chair Atkinson as the alternate. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Ms. Boone, second by Ms. Futrell. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson? Mrs. Boone?
Yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell? Mrs. Hines? Mrs. Shoemake?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 7.4 is election of a representative and an alternate to represent CSEP. We do have a nomination for Ms. Futrell as the representative and Dr. Patillo as the alternate. I entertain a motion at this time.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Atkinson, second by Ms. Boone. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Boone? Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 7.5 is election of a representative for the Access College Foundation. I have a nomination for Vice Chair Atkinson as a delegate and Ms. Sarah Hines as the alternate. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Ms. Thomas, second by Ms. Boone, and by Ms. Futrell. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson? Yes. Mrs. Boone? Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell? Yes. Mrs. Hines? Yes. Mrs. Schumate?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 7.6, subcommittee and assignments. You all will receive a list uploaded in board docs for all other subcommittees and assignments. Is there any other discussion for that at this time?
No, sir.
Seeing none, consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.3. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Dr. Cotton, second by Ms. Boone. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson? Yes. Mrs. Boone? Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumate?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. We now have agenda item 9.1, which is our monthly report from Curriculum Instruction. Dr. DeVries.
Good evening, Chairman Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, school board members, and Dr. Bracy. You have some highlights in your school board packet this evening for all of the wonderful work that we're doing in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. And I have two presentations for you this evening. So the first will be from our English Language Arts team, Ms. Booker, who's our elementary coordinator, and Dr. Usanga, who is our secondary coordinator. And the second presentation is by our mathematics team, and that is Dr. Calhoun, who is our elementary coordinator, and Ms. Hatcher, who is our secondary coordinator. So we'll start with English Language Arts.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Bracy, Chairman Dr. Patillo, Vice Chairman Ms. Atkinson, and board members. I'm Ms. Nicole Booker, Coordinator of Elementary English.
And I'm Dr. Venus Usanga, Coordinator of Secondary English.
Thank you for the opportunity to share the great things we are doing in the Office of English. The focus this evening is to share how we are bridging the gap with literacy. First, we're building the capacity of our teachers. Secondly, filling the literacy gaps. And lastly, increasing student achievement. Our driving force is the Virginia Literacy Act, which aims to reverse the literacy trends in grades K through 8. It outlines how to build the capacity of our educators through the science of reading. And we have copies that you have that has an overview in front of you. As a division, our teachers are currently participating in training using evidence-based literacy instruction through LETTERS. LETTERS stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. It teaches the skills needed to master the fundamentals of reading instruction, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, writing, and language.
It also helps convert research to practice. With the Bridge to Practice, which you have in your folders as well, our K-2 teachers, reading interventionists, coaches, and program specialists are using what they are learning to support our students, as well as specific case study students that we are tracking throughout the school year to see their growth and eventual reading success. We would now like to show you a short video of what our team is learning and implementing through the knowledge of our LETTERS training.
LETTERS is a program that actually instructs teachers on how students learn to read, why students might have difficulty reading, and then also what we can do as educators to target and identify those areas of weakness or difficulty, and what we can do as far as activities and strategies and methods.
Prior to the program, I was under the impression that it really didn't apply to what we do in secondary English. So much of what I'm learning through the program is that without that foundation, the things that I think are elementary level comprehension skills, they're still affecting our 7th and 8th graders. One of the major benefits is being able to diagnose specifically where a student has gaps, and then knowing exactly what to do to be able to help them close those gaps.
Right, that is a way to finish that off strong.
It's not just teaching us what to give to the students and what to teach to the students, but how students learn to read. Knowing how they read and knowing how to access different parts of their brain, whether it be their phonological processor or orthographic processor. Word recognition is so hard for a lot of kiddos. That word recognition isn't going to happen until we get to those small units of sound first. So we really need to target their letter sounds. We really need to target the relationship between phoneme and grapheme. Like, this is the sound, ah, and this is the symbol that goes with the sound, ah.
Reading isn't a natural thing. It's something that is truly taught, and you have to get all the different components together. One of the main focuses is understanding Scarborough's rope, and that's the breakdown and combination of those two pieces.
I've learned that by taking all these things in chunks, like in my previous lessons, I may not have taken so many different ways of teaching. I might have only been doing 1 or 2, and now I'm learning 3 or 4 different ways that I can add and to make my lessons a little bit more enriching for the children. So like we can start off with a review, then do our adding and deletion of phonemes. We'll do irregular sight words. Then we can read our sentences, spell, and then we can do our decodable reader. So it really does layer. I start off small, and then we end up with a rich text.
LETTERS is a great direction for the division because it is equipping us. It is giving us the tools that we need for best student outcomes.
I am very appreciative that we are being proactive. We're ahead of the game when it comes to the science of reading and implementing certain things, making sure that we're taking the steps necessary to make sure that our students are successful.
I feel very excited. I feel that I'm seeing sparks in children's eyes. I'm feeling that the children are understanding that because it is logical, that they know that there's a pattern. There's a pattern, and children like that comfort that they know what always to expect.
You do it. Drag it out. Let me hear it.
Do you have any questions for us?
Ms. Futrell?
Thank you, Chair. So I don't have a question, but ladies, outstanding. This has been a major pillar for me. Even when I was running for school board, this bill was something I watched from its inception. So to see it now and to know that we are ahead of the game, it's just kudos to you all. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Booker?
Oh, yes, we would just like to say thank you, Dr. Bracy, for supporting our department. We'd like to say to our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. DeVries, she's been very supportive since day one, and also to our 2 directors, Ms. Lewis and to Mr. Sharmalachi. Thank you so much. Thank you, Board.
Thank you. Agenda item 9.2 is a, oh, I'm sorry, I'm too fast. Oh, sorry. Oh, we gotta have the math. Ms. Hatcher and Ms. Calhoun.
It's the only one that counts.
We gotta have math, we do.
Good evening, Chair Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, Dr. Bracy, school board members, and guests. I'm Dr. Wanda Calhoun. I'm the coordinator for elementary mathematics, and I'm here with my new colleague,
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm here, I'm India Hatcher, and I'm the coordinator of secondary mathematics. We're here this evening to give you guys some insight on mathematics engagement across the schools and across the grade levels.
As we continue to recover from the pandemic, our team continually works with our teachers and students using evidence-based strategies to work towards increased student achievement. Our job is to help students and teachers see the joy and beauty of mathematics, changing students' mindsets from something that they have to do to something that they want to do because it's fun, engaging, and relevant, as you'll see in our short video.
So the video is representative of the engagement that our teachers, our specialists, our coaches, and our staff create for all of our students. We're grateful for the school board for the appropriation of school funds to keep our students engaged in mathematics from elementary all the way to high school.
What you've just seen in the video is our mathematics instructional model in action, showing you small group instruction, use of manipulatives such as our Cuisenaire rods, two-color counters, versatiles, and more. Students using technology such as Spheros, Ozobots, and IndyCars to complement the mathematics lesson and increase student achievement.
So as you can see, student engagement is a real top priority for us in math and in curriculum instruction. But when students are engaged in standards-aligned, authentic learning, they can apply those math skills to other situations, and the learning sticks. Speaking of standards, we do want to mention that we have new math standards heading our way, and we want to highlight how we're preparing our teachers for classroom success.
So this is the timeline that was developed by the state, and what we have to say about this is the state did change the timeline. So it was originally going to be fully implemented in years 25, 26, and they've moved it up. So we're going to now be implementing in 24, 25, removing that year of the crosswalk.
So the new numbering system and some of the changes that they're doing is that makes it clear with where this strand of standard exists. So the sample shown on the screen highlights 4.CE.1. 4 is the grade level, CE is computation and estimation strand, and 1 indicates this is the first standard of learning in this strand. So there's keys at the bottom of each of the VDOE representative documents, and it provides the abbreviations for each of the strands.
This is an overview, so these documents are provided on the state website, will be provided to teachers, we'll work through them, but this is the overview of revisions document that has been created for each grade level and course.
So the overview of revisions document, there's a summary of changes table at the end of it. One section has the overview of the numbering, and the other section provides the prominent parameter changes, or if there's any clarifications that need to be made from 2016 to 2023. The parameter changes and clarifications might indicate an increase or a decrease in some of the limiters or the standards of the skills, but it might also be related to the depth of understanding of the content or the scope of the content.
The 2023 math standards of learning incorporate additional changes that promote deeper understanding of the concepts through embedding the 5 mathematical process goals and infusion of the data cycle and standards addressing statistics. The 2023 SOL takes a deeper dive into mathematics content, so that data cycle will be added in from kindergarten through 12th grade, or through Algebra 2.
All right, so ensuring student success starts with teacher success. So professional development sessions will be offered continuously to ensure that teachers are prepared. So new curriculum is currently being developed to align with the new standards and will be available for the summer of 2024.
Thank you very much. Before I end, though, I do have to recognize I have a very special person here tonight, Miss Barbara Johnson-Gray. Stand up. Barbara Johnson-Gray is one of our math coaches. Actually, she's our math coach from Brighton, and we appreciate Barbara so much. A lot of these photos and activities come from Barbara's school. She's by far one of our greatest assets in Portsmouth, so I could not acknowledge her. And now we'll take any questions that you may have.
All right, Brighton getting all the love tonight. No, thank you all for the presentation. I guess one thing I want to ask is a statement. If there's anything as far as resources that's needed, if you all could ensure that we always know ahead of time so we can make that happen, so we're not playing behind the game and in front of the game. So, but thank you all for all that you do. I know when the state issues new mandates is always never easy, it's always a struggle, so thank you all for hanging in there with us. And I know professional development would be a challenge, but just stay hanging there with us and we'll make this work together.
Thank you, Chair. I know Miss Barbara is great at engaging the parents. I actually observe her do that all the time. For the students that are failing the SOL, I'm thinking about the parent piece, because math is that subject that a lot of our parents, when the kids get home, the parents don't know how to do the math problems as well. So how are we identify those students? And I know we have a new tutoring program, but from a math perspective, what are we doing to offer them those additional services, possibly in and out of school?
I know that each of our elementary schools do offer family engagement nights, and most times, I would not say all times, but I think most times, the math coaches are involved in those parent nights. I know a lot of the schools do SOL remediation nights and things like that as we get closer. And I don't know, I think maybe we need to address that further, because, I mean, that's what I do know that we do for sure. But we could, I think, I like the idea of like lunch and learns and things like that, because I do think that parents are scared of the new math.
Right.
And it's not new math. It is looked at very differently, though, because I can tell you the way it's taught is not the way that I learned it. So when I look at it, it's like it can be challenging, and that's why they think it's new, because it's different, but it's just a different way of looking at it. The answer's still the same. Answer is always going to be the same. Right. But no, thank you for bringing that up. I do think that might be something that we should look into. And maybe Ms. Barber can help us lead that charge.
Right, and get into that point, like you said, that lunch and learn where the parents is actually learning with their child. That would help, because I'm gonna tell you, when I first saw new math, I was like, your teacher didn't teach you how to do this? But I ended up learning it, but I'm just thinking about other parents that's just not gonna sit there and figure it out. So thank you.
Ms. Thomas.
I'm going to keep this very brief, but thank you so much for the presentation. And I know that it can be a challenge. I'm one of the parents who don't know the new math. Well, I had to learn it, but the block method and all that stuff, yeah, it's very, very new to me. See, yes. But I do have a question. I know, I guess I just wanted to say resource impact. I know we've changed our model in elementary school, and just any feedback from do we have any feedback from some of the teachers that maybe weren't teaching math at first and now they've had to move into teaching math, and any additional professional development that's had to go into that with the new curriculum? Oh,
I'll
Dr.
defer to
DeVries, I didn't
Dr.
want you
DeVries
to
for
have,
that.
I can say this for later. Okay.
But I will tell you that some of the feedback we've heard, both that there's some challenges, obviously, with getting used to that, and we're hearing less and less of those challenges as the year goes on. So I think as teachers get used to it, they know our folks are out there supporting them. I was just at several schools this week, and they sang our folks' praises, saying that they see them out there all the time, supporting them with both math and language arts. So there's that. There's also a plethora of opportunities for professional learning that our folks offer. Now, we don't have any mandatory professional learning in terms of after school or at this point, but we strongly suggest it. And we know those teachers who come to that professional learning tend to excel and tend to move forward in their classes. We see the results in the classrooms. I know my folks have said it over and over again. They could tell who's engaged in that and who's not. However, with that said, those professional learning times that we're building into the calendar are really important, because we know we have a captive audience with those teachers. And it's really important, especially at the elementary level, when they're trying to navigate 4 different subject areas, to make sure that they have the time to dig in with their experts from our department into the content. Next year, we're going to have new science standards, new language arts standards. We just got new math standards, new language arts standards. We just got new science standards, and we're 1 year off from new social studies standards. So.
Ms. Hines.
Thank you. As Dr. DeVries said, it's a wonderful time to be a teacher, especially being thrown into having to teach all 4 of them. And so I got a couple of things. I had to make a list because I was scared I'd forget, and I want to make sure that this is concise. Don't look at me like that, Chair. I'm good. Number 1, as Dr. as Vice Chair Atkinson was talking about, how do you do this math, right? I mean, we've all been there. If you have a kid and they come home and you're sitting at the dinner table and you're like, Mom, I don't know how to do this. Dad, I don't know how to do this. I'm savvy enough, I go to Google and I find my teachers, right? And I watch it and then I try to explain it. However, is there a way that we can videotape our teachers and warehouse those videos for teaching standards on our school's websites? So for the students and for the teacher and for the parents when they get home, how do I do this? If I have a way that I can go back and hear a teacher teaching it the way I saw it in a classroom as a student, oh yeah, then I got to do this and this and this, done, And so instead of going to Google, because we all know that not everything is Google worthy, correct? Not everything in our SOL land is Google happenings, right? If there's a way that we could make our database for lessons, and that's also for parents, it's for students, but it could also be for teachers that are new to the subject. How do you teach this? If you have a master teacher or an experienced teacher that's teaching it, and we're in between PD sessions, it is November, I ain't got time for that because we all know what teaching in November looks like. They've got a way that they can go and get a refresher on how to do it, so it may be worth the effort to put together our own video database. We talked about that when Ms. Booker and the English team did the whole letters presentation to our instruction committee. I remember sitting on my mom's porch for a good while, sitting outside and digesting all of it. But as far as the professional development and the amount that it has to go into it, especially for letters and then again for this math, because when you say math, I get panicked. When you say new math, I really get panicked. And I'm a secondary teacher, so I want to alleviate problems across the board, and I believe in working smarter and not harder. And so if there's a way for us to work smarter, and that would be, you know, maybe creating some sort of database for that. So I'm good with that. I know pre-COVID, the Virginia State Department of Ed, when we rolled out new standards, they would put out test committees, they would put out PD from the State Department. Is that an option now? I mean, they've got four new contents coming out in 2.5 years. Are those things that they're offering now that we could send?
So they are offering PDs. They're going to be offering some virtual PDs.
Okay.
That is forthcoming. It's not ready yet.
Right.
They have prepared a lot of documents for us. I know there's more forthcoming. I know I just saw the other day that they were originally not going to do the understanding the standard, which is the teacher piece. They are
Right.
going to do that. They've decided to do that. So I do think the state's supporting us as much as they can
Right.
from their end. And I will say kudos to the math at the state level because they always give us a plethora
Wonderful.
of stuff.
Wonderful.
Now, that leadership did just change, so I hope that continues.
Correct. And my last thing, as you were talking about the new standards coming into play for next year, are you using summer school students as a kind of a test case for the new curriculum as you move forward with summer school? Is there a way that you could use this new curriculum in summer school to work out some of the issues, or is that too quick of a turnaround? I'm just trying to be proactive and not go a whole year and not know what we don't know.
Sure. I'll jump in and then you can jump in.
And you don't have to answer me. Don't think that you got to answer me.
I was going to
So-
say, I think we haven't really thought about it yet. We haven't got enough into summer school planning to think about it. I will just tell you that, though, that summer school is typically like our let's pick up the pieces time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think while we're picking up the pieces, we can surely look at the standards. But I will tell you, they haven't changed that drastically. We've had some things move from grade level to grade level, and we've had a couple things just go. But overall, it's not as earth-shattering as it has been in the past.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, State Department. Okay. All right, I'm good. That was my list. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Miss Thomas? No? Are we good? All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item 9.2 is a budget update. Mr. Falk, we do know we don't have an approved budget by the state as of yet, but we would like to keep us updated along the way, so thank you, Mr. Falk, for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Chairman Patillo, Ms. Atkinson, school board members, Dr. Bracy. I stand before you to give you an update on the budget for FY 24-25. Obviously, at this time of year and throughout the year, we work on our budget, we manage it, we try to make sure we know trends and what's going on out there to make sure that we're on the cutting edge, just like our instructional counterparts with all the SOL changes. So as we finalize the plan, we wanted to give you a general overview of what we were experiencing in the financial climate that we were looking at the state level, because obviously with the budget, we start at the state level, what the state is providing for us since we're fiscally dependent, meaning we rely on other organizations for our funding. As you know, Governor Youngkin presented his budget proposal on December 20th. And it had some proposals in it. It didn't have a lot this year like it normally would in the first year of a biennium. So obviously, the General Assembly session has started, and they're filing their bills, filing their motions, filing all of the financial information that they need. So we're looking to the General Assembly to see what the marriage of the two proposals will be. So tonight, I'll give you an overview of Governor Youngkin's initial budget presentation, obviously not having what the General Assembly will have at this time. Next slide, Dean. So first thing, overview of Governor Youngkin's introduced biennial budget, and then also our budget calendar dates for this year. Next slide. So as I said, 24-25 is the first year of this biennial budget and a re-benchmarking year. Normally, in a re-benchmarking year, meaning that they're updating cost, estimates, enrollments, all of that good stuff to current levels, usually you see a lot of new money in that first year of the biennial budget. We don't see that right now, to be honest with you. Secondly, being that it's re-benchmarking, they do all of that. They've done their updates to average daily membership, sales tax, and lottery. Normally, there are increases there. In Governor Youngkin's introduced budget, all of those things are decreases, believe it or not. There's a statewide decrease in enrollment, as you guys have seen in articles. The lottery estimate has a decrease, as well as the sales tax estimate has a decrease in a first year verbatim re-benchmarking year. One good thing for us is that our local composite index decreased from 0.2413 to 0.2369. People say, what does that mean? The local composite index is the ability of that locality to pay for education. So a decrease means more money to that locality. So in that respect, that is a good thing for us. That local composite index formula is just a convoluted formula of building values and the value of property and all of this good stuff that we couldn't even go through and try to figure out. But the bottom line is it decreased, which means we would get a bigger share from the state, and the locality would have a lower ability to pay in that regard. Next slide. So in the governor's budget, there's really not a lot of new initiatives. The one initiative, obviously, we always look at salaries and salary proposals. The one thing he put in is a one-time 1% bonus, and it's funded for SOQ funded positions. I always say that because the funding is only SOQ funded position. That is nowhere near the number of positions that you need to fund a school division or run a school division. And that is as of July 1st, 2024. We would still have to give that bonus to all of our employees in that regard. The other thing that was interesting that he did, if you recall last year, the state eliminated the grocery and personal hygiene sales tax. They eliminated it. But what they did to school divisions is that they held us harmless for that and gave us money to soften the blow last year for that elimination of the grocery and the hygiene tax. Well, in the governor's introduced budget, he didn't hold us harmless in this year. So there's no money coming back to us to cover for the elimination of the grocery tax. That's one of the bigger things in his budget that kind of almost got hidden because he eliminated. Next slide, Dean. So with that said, I wanted to give you an opportunity to look at the budget calendar dates for this year. The first thing that we're going to do, obviously, we're working as we speak. We'll present the superintendent's estimate of needs and the proposed budget to the school board on February 29th this year. Right now, the joint meeting with City Council is scheduled for March the 4th. Our public hearing for the 24-25 proposed budget will be on the 21st, and also the approval is scheduled for March 21st as well. We would present the budget and submit it to the city on the 22nd of March. The city manager is presenting her proposed budget to City Council on March 25th. The next day, every year I come up and I say, oh, the General Assembly is going to adopt the budget and they're going to release all the documents. And I come up with this nice date that I think is going to happen, and obviously it never does. So I'm saying April this year. It's a 60-day session this year. All things being equal, we never know when it's going to come out. We hope for sooner rather than later because it gives us enough time to put everything in and get a good budget out before March. But I'm saying April, not knowing what's going to happen, obviously. City Council adopts their budget as well as our school board operating budget on the 14th of May. And then we come back and adopt our operating budget on May 23rd. With that said, that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions tonight?
No, I just want to state that many of us were in Richmond this week speaking with legislators. I know Dr. Bracey and Dr. Cotton and I, we had a list that included salaries, and we stressed that the 1% bonus wouldn't be enough for our staff, and they need to have a raise, not just a bonus, and needs to be brought up as close to the national average as possible. The governor's budget is what it is, but the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, both feel there needs to be more put into education. So there are going to be changes to the budget. What they're going to be, we don't know. But thank you for keeping us abreast on this, and we're hoping for the best when it comes to the budget coming from Richmond. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Agenda item lost myself. Agenda item 10.1, Superintendent Report. Dr. Bracy.
Good evening, Chairman Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, and board members. It's exciting to have our first regular meeting of 2024. Can't you feel the excitement?
I thought it was a
Maybe
game
not
that's
at this
coming
hour,
on.
yeah.
I thought the excitement was the game that's coming on. The board.
Right. All right.
Just kidding.
Well, first off, for our high school juniors, I'm excited to announce that we're once again partnering with the SAT School Day, which means our juniors can take the SAT for free. Not only do we cover the Not only do we cover the cost for the test, but another great benefit of SAT School Day is that you get to take the SAT right in your home school during the school day. Talk about an easy commute. Yeah. This year's SAT School Day will be Thursday, March 21st. If you want to participate, you must register by Thursday, February 8th. The registration link was sent home earlier this week in a PPS Connect message, but you can also learn more by visiting www.ppsk12.us/SAT. Next up, I have an update on the second round of panorama testing, which, as the board knows, is an initiative here in Portsmouth Public Schools to help identify and support the unique mental health, social, and emotional needs of our students, elementary through high school. Students take part in one survey in the fall and another in the spring. The fall data helps schools plan special programs, initiatives, or improvements that can support student needs. The spring data helps us to measure the progress we've made since the fall. Monday, parents of students in grades 3 through 12 will receive a PPS Connect, reminding them of this work has always given them an option to opt out. However, if families have opted out in the fall, they don't need to do so again. Speaking of opt-outs, let me remind families that we re-released our 2023-24 media and directory information opt-out form for the second semester. Families only need to turn in this form if they do not want their child highlighted in division publications, outside media, or have their directory information made available to college and recruiters. The deadline to submit this form for the second semester is tomorrow. And again, you do not need to turn in this form if you've already submitted it in the fall. Finally, also regarding tomorrow, I have a couple of calendar reminders for our families. Our first semester ends tomorrow, January 26th, so we have an adjusted dismissal day. And then we have a teacher work day Monday, January 29th, which means no schools for students. Report cards will go home then, Thursday, February 1st. And Chairman, that completes my report.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item 10.2 is a board member comments. Dr. Cotton.
Yes, I want to publicly congratulate one of our own, Dr. Lauren Nolasco. She has now earned the prefix of doctor. So we want to thank you for being who you are, and we congratulate you on your earned doctorate. All right, thank you. And to all of Brighton staff and students, I got another tie for you, but I just want to say thank you for coming out this evening. And besides Xavion, if any of your students need somewhere to sing on Sunday, 9:45 a.m., all right? Thank you.
Any other board member comments?
And we need a new plate for Dr. Nolasco. That's all I have.
I'll make sure we get that, Brenda will get that put in. Absolutely. All right, I just want to say thank you again to our staff for coming out from Brighton and from administration for coming out. Thank you again to Councilman Hugel and Dr. Majette for being guests on this evening. I just want to say to the board, I truly appreciate all of you. We've gotten so much accomplished so far this year. It's going to be a great year for our school division. And we work so well together that I wouldn't want to have another board any other way. So thank you all for all that you do every day. With that being said, this meeting is now adjourned.